Several budget recommendations including loan concessions to be implemented from today. Protests staged by the businessmen from Manning Market continue for the second day. Laboratory tests to investigate the death of the Dutch monk. Gaul Gladiators qualify for the semi-finals of LPL 2020.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. In your top stories this afternoon, a group of businessmen from the Menin Market staged a protest opposite the Colombo Fort railway station yesterday. A correspondent said that 10 protesters were granted approval to meet with officials attached to the Urban Development Authority.
The group is staging the protest, citing that the space provided at the Paliagoda complex is insufficient. The protesters requested for a discussion with the authorities earlier this morning. Accordingly, officials attached to the Urban Development Authority have agreed to discuss with 10 protesters.
The
UDA has agreed to discuss with 10 protesters. If the discussions are not successful, we will continue this. We will call this off if we receive a favorable answer. Our shops have been divided and we don't have enough space.
Now this is what we spoke about. There wasn't any issue inside the Menin Market. Those who have engaged in these businesses for a long time should be given the chance to continue. New businesses should be established to create competition. Now we have taken measures to open the Manning Market from Monday. We also need to provide opportunities for new people to enhance competition. The people who were engaging in these businesses should be given priority. By doing so, we will resolve the issue.
In another one of your headline-making stories this afternoon, the Special Judicial Medical Officer who conducted the post-mortem examination on the remains of the Dutch monk who recently passed away has decided that the samples should be sent for laboratory tests to determine the cause of death.
The remains of the late Venerable Nederlante Jinavansatero were discovered at the Ratgama Lagoon on Wednesday. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa advised the Inspector General of Police, C.D. Vikramaratne, to conduct a complete investigation with the intervention of the Criminal Investigations Department.
Ratgama Police have commenced investigations into the matter. The magisterial inquiry also took place. Also, the Special Judicial Medical Officer attached to the Karapitia Teaching Hospital conducted the post-mortem examination. It is reported, based on the findings, the samples of the remains will have to be sent for a laboratory test. Thereafter, the reason for the death can be identified and further investigations will be carried out. Following the lab reports, the Judicial Medical Officer will voice the findings. Meanwhile, investigations will be conducted by the Criminal Investigations Department and the Ratgama Police.
The remains of the Venerable Nederlante Jinavansatero was brought to the Polgasduwa Aranya.
The government has decided to immediately implement a number of proposals that were presented in the 2021 budget.
Interest concessions in housing and asset loans, concessions on interest in obtaining solar-powered electricity, vouchers to purchase shoes for students receiving education in Pirivenas, working capital loans for small and medium enterprises affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, bearing the expenses of the state employees who were diagnosed with COVID-19 through Agrahara funds. Capital for young entrepreneurs to commence a new business, encouraging the local dairy farmers to develop domestic dairy products, and interest concession for public and private employees for purchasing houses are included in the recommendations.
The following are some of the views expressed by government parliamentarians and opposition faction MPs after the third reading of the 2021 budget in Parliament yesterday.
අපි බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කිව්වා අපි මේක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මේකෙන්
We very clearly said that we are taking the first step of developing the country through this, and our plan is very clear. What we have to do is carry out that plan. We have found money in more difficult situations. We will find money in the future as well. Even though people say that it is a huge challenge for us, we will get through it.
එනුනත් සමහරක් අය ඉතින් කියනවා මේක වෙන්නේ නැහැ අරක වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා අපි ඒක කොහොම හරි කරලා කරනවා.
මේ උත්සාහ කරන්නේ අපි කියනවා.
There was an agenda back in the day called Industrial Recommendations on Exports. They are trying to go there. On the other side, they are printing money. It is called a modern monetary theory. They are trying to escape this economic turmoil in that manner. What we need is to rescue the domestic economy of our country, but that cannot be done according to their method. They have barred the country by a tax wall. There is so much evidence to back this claim. This did not work in countries like South America and India. The only way to develop this country is to have close ties with the international arena and to expand our markets and industries.
වෙළඳ පොළ ප්‍රසාරණය කරලා තමයි අපේ දේශීය ව්‍යාපාරිකය අපේ දේශීය කර්මාන්තකරුවා දියුණු කරන්න පුළුවන්.
The budget was passed as we expected. Now what we have to do is to carry out what we planned. This particular budget is a very good budget catering to development in recent years. This is a smart budget that was presented in line with the vistas of prosperity and splendor policy statement. We will reap the benefits of this budget in the years to come. The budget was passed because the government had the two-thirds majority, but there is no relief for the people. People who are battered by COVID-19 will suffer from this budget.
Views were expressed with regard to the 2021 budget at a media briefing today. The government has failed to fulfill the promises given to the poor and has even failed to present a proper budget. This government has failed continuously and failed to win the trust of the people who had witnessed the debates at the parliament. The budget of the Moratuwa Municipal Council was presented. The same method is being followed here by both the central government and the Moratuwa Municipal Council. Only a meager amount has been allocated for the health services.
2 deaths related to COVID-19 were reported yesterday. Now, this brought the total number of deaths caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in Sri Lanka to 146.
One of the deceased was a resident of Colombo 2, aged 66. The cause of death was a heart infection triggered by COVID-19. Another woman had died due to chronic kidney disease triggered by COVID-19. She was a 54-year-old resident from Valigama. Accordingly, the total number of COVID-19 deaths in the country has risen to 146. Meanwhile, 538 COVID-19 cases were identified yesterday. 448 of them were from the Palyagoda cluster. 69 expatriates and 21 cases belonging to the prison cluster were identified yesterday. Accordingly, the total number of COVID-19 cases in the country increased to 30,613. 22,261 people have completely recovered and discharged from hospitals.
Issuing a special statement, President of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, Professor Indika Karunatilaka, expressed the following views.
Most of those who are affected by COVID-19 are asymptomatic. They cease to be infective after about 10 days. And most of them don't need any treatment. If there are symptoms like throat discomfort, sometimes drinking warm water or even a sugary syrup might help. However, they are not proven to be a cure to the disease. What happens there is any liquid that has high sugar concentration can coat the inflamed surface in the throat, and that can give a temporary relief. But it is not a cure. At the moment, there is no drug that has been proven by such protocols and guidelines to show as a cure for COVID-19. Therefore, the prominence given to any remedy or any treatment as a cure for COVID-19 will only divert the attention from the basic preventive measures and will lead to a jeopardization of the preventive effort.
Well, 618 expatriates who were stranded overseas due to the COVID-19 pandemic were returned to the country during the past 24 hours.
The delegation included 107 from Dubai, UAE and 78 from Melbourne, Australia. They are directed to quarantine following the submission of PCR tests.
Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana urged the public to stay indoors during the festive season this year.
With the upcoming festive season, it was reported that several musical shows and shops have been opened in many areas in the country. I agree that we have to celebrate festivals. However, if we celebrate this festival with our family at home, we will be able to be safe and enjoy a joyful Christmas. Therefore, I request everyone getting ready for the festive season to adhere to all health guidelines imposed by the authorities.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Ruwan Wijewardena, engaged in party reorganization activities in Chilau yesterday.
Ruwan Wijewardena and his team first visited the Muneswaram temple in Chilau to receive blessings.
I think this government could have curbed the virus during the first wave of COVID-19. However, due to their negligence, a second wave has entered the country and worsened the situation. We saw thousands of people had recently visited Kegol to purchase the tonic. A tonic cluster has most probably been formed already. They are not being responsible for the situation. This government is a failure. We know that at least 4 to 5 people die daily due to COVID-19. This government is responsible for the loss of those lives.
And some saddening news, an elephant calf died after it was hit by a motorbike along the Colombo-Kataragama main road. The motorcyclist also sustained injuries.
The accident had taken place at 11 p.m. yesterday when the elephant calf had been crossing the road. The injured person has been admitted to the Hambantota hospital. Further investigations are being carried out by the wildlife officers in the area and the Hambantota police.
Academic and advisor of Diplomatic Society for South Africa in partnership with Diplomatic World Institute of Brussels, Dr. Shrimal Fernando launched his latest book titled Politics, Economics and Connectivity in Search of the South Asian Union. Newsfirst's Azra Asan met with him.
Dr. Shrimal Fernando is also a recipient of the prestigious O.P. Jindal Doctoral Fellowship and the South Asian University Scholarship under the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation umbrella. He has also received accolades such as the 2018 and 2019 Best Journalist of the Year in South Africa, the Media Award for 2016 and the Indian Council of World Affairs accolade.
Doctor, tell us about the book you have launched and the content of it.
This book dwells into the past of the South Asian nations, as well as it gives a narrative about the regional integration program, as well as the South Asian regional cooperation. SAARC must reach to the stage of supranational institution level. However, still SAARC is at the stage of the economic union stage. But the region has made some progress with SAFTA implementation, but it lags behind the European Union and ASEAN, which has intra-trade of 37% if you compare ASEAN. With these recommendations and policies, we believe that this SAARC union can progress to a better stage in the coming years as a political union.
Doctor, what is your target audience?
Yes, the target is policymakers, diplomats, and also practitioners, and also personalities who are interested in regional integration beyond SAARC are the target audience, but also the private sector who might be interested in dealing with the neighbors could be also participants in this thing.
What do you aspire to achieve out of this book, Doctor?
I aspire to achieve is to serve on to give the knowledge to the policymakers to work more effectively on a regional integration process as well as regional cooperation. This brings out a union comparative to European Union or ASEAN that brings benefits to the people of our 1.6 billion consortium. So this book is just a tool for people to be aware of the past as well as to see what we can do in the future. That's what this is the purpose of this book, and that's what's the service that I try to provide.
New sports news this afternoon. Galle Gladiators qualified for the semi-finals of the Lanka Premier League 2020 after beating Kandy Tuskers by 9 wickets last night at the Mahinda Rajapaksa International Cricket Stadium.
Galle Gladiators won the toss in this 19th encounter of the tournament and decided to field first. Kandy Tuskers lost 2 of their top order wickets just for 9 runs.
Quite interesting right at the top. You see a big wicket for Muhammad Amir. Eventually,
Brenton Taylor scored 20 runs. Against a magnificent bowling display by the Gladiators, 7 batsmen from the Tuskers were unable to score more than 10 runs. 3 batsmen had to go back to their dugout without scoring a single run. However, Kusal Mendis managed to score 68 runs from 42 deliveries.
This time, the wickets tended to fall. More than 50% of the runs scored by Kusal Mendis.
His innings included 6 fours and 4 sixes. Nuwan Tushara took 2 wickets for 8 runs. Against a formidable bowling attack of the Galle Gladiators led by Banu Rajapaksa, Kandy Tuskers were bowled out for just 126 runs. Chasing a target of 127 runs to qualify for the semi-finals, the opening duo of Galle Gladiators, Danushka Gunathilaka and Hazratullah Sazai, managed to put up 101 runs for the first wicket.
He played perfectly and he's played them well the whole tournament. And what has really stood out?
Sazai scored 20 runs. Danushka Gunathilaka scored an unbeaten 94 runs of 64 balls that included 12 fours and 4 sixes. Galle Gladiators managed to reach their target, only losing 1 wicket at the end of 17 overs. With the victory, the Galle Gladiators qualified for the semi-finals of the tournament and secured the 4th spot in the points table. Meanwhile, the encounter between Colombo Kings and Dambulla Viking will get underway at the Mahinda Rajapaksa International Cricket Stadium at 8 p.m. today. Both the teams have already qualified for the semi-final stage in the tournament.
And that's a wrap of Lunchtime News on TV1 for today. Do join us again at 9 tonight for Primetime News on TV1.